Welcome, Aurelia.
Hi, Judy. I haven't seen you in 100 years, it feels like.
Pues, si coge el teléfono,
Ay, mija, tú me llamaste and I missed. I'm so sorry.
yo te
You
he
know what?
llamado, te he llamado. Pero I'll catch up with you after this.
Okay, sounds good. I'm over here triple tasking. The work started in my basement today. Yeah. And there's like a multi, but I'm probably might be on mute because it's gonna be loud here.
Okay, well, look at that. It starts after Mother's Day. Hopefully, it gets finished before Father's Day.
I it's not even it's a small job, it's little. Like let's get it done. Uh-huh. All right. I'm gonna mute myself for a little.
Okay, it looks like we're ready to get started. Get this party started. All right, today we are talking about web design for birth workers. And this is a really special class because web design is something that can like really take us in a lot of different directions. And to be honest, I'm just going to break it down for you with like being really blunt and straightforward. And that is that most websites are actually a huge waste. They sit out there in cyberspace and they look pretty, but they don't do any good. For a lot of people, website traffic isn't even exciting. They aren't actually engaging and they aren't making any sales. So if I give you that picture, that's the contrast of what we actually want to create. Your website should like increasingly be creating revenue for you. And the beauty of it is that the internet allows you to be in control of your destiny. And your website is no exception to this. There are proven methods of increasing traffic, engagement, conversions, also that your business and your revenue can grow. And we're going to talk about how you can create that for yourself. And please feel free to just jump in with your questions. Meride Juju, jump in with your comments because this is going to be a good one. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you about like the secrets of really making your website work for you and also to help it to really get you clients. But first, what we need to talk about is our customers. Our customers are our clients, our mothers that we're nurturing. They are humans, and human brains are designed for survival. Our brain's main job is to keep us alive. So if you're reading this, that means that your brain is doing a good job of that, right? In order to keep you alive, your brain has learned to prioritize and focus on what's important to its survival first and tune out anything else that doesn't matter second. So, like, think about the last time that you were in a restaurant. You know, did you know how many people were working or how many chairs were in the room? Probably not, because your brain didn't care about those things. They had nothing to do about your survival, but you probably knew where the nearest exit was. And that's just how our brains work. It doesn't mean that we're not seeing what it is that we actually want in a situation. It's just how our brain is wired. So, what does that mean for your website? It means that if you're not seeing the sales that you want, it's probably because the people who are visiting your site, their brains are categorizing you like the number of chairs in a restaurant, aka not super duper important. And if you don't communicate why you do matter to your clients or your customers or your potential customers, then they don't really pay attention to it as much as they could. And what can make it a little bit worse is if your website is confusing. Then that means that the attention of the people who are looking at your website, like they're not going to want to burn precious calories by trying to figure out what it is that you're saying, because burning calories puts their survival at risk. So instead, they just might tune out. And how do you change that? How do you convince? I don't even like the word convince, but how do you display or demonstrate to your potential customers that you matter to their survival? And that key is clarity. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. You just got to cut through the noise. It's so simple. You cut through the noise that the rest of the world is blasting out at your customers all the time. And you don't have to do that by creating more noise. You see how that doesn't make sense. But just think about your favorite brand. Do they have noise in there on their website, or do they have no noise? Some Oh, somebody wants to say something?
Absolutely. I loved how you put that together, because it's so important to know your target market. You know, while you're out there putting out your message, if it's not your target market, they're not listening. It's not important to them. It's like having a conversation with just anyone else.
What is it? What do they say? If you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that phrase. So instead of saying like noise, we could talk about it as music. Like there's a big difference if you're listening to Mozart or if you're listening to Led Zeppelin. And the difference is how you're listening. Just imagine that you're like trying to take notes on the sounds, in those songs. We're talking about Led Zeppelin versus Mozart. And they just like, maybe you're listening to Led Zeppelin, it sounds a little like jumbled up. But maybe on the Mozart, you can pick out, the different instruments. So let's say,
Hey, and I like both of them.
me too.
I like both of them, but I have to be in the mood for them. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes I have my lead moment and sometimes I have my Mo's moment. And you have to understand that that's how your target market is as well, because not only is it with clarity and your message, it's also with how they're feeling today. Because a lot of people run their businesses differently, the same way that they run their websites differently. Some people want no noise on a website. Some people are, oh, put a little music or put a little, like when I click on something, it makes a ching sound. Some people, it's cool with that. This is why it's so important not only to know yourself and the business that you have out there, but to know your target audience so specifically that it's almost like their favorite color, their favorite flower, and that takes time. So please don't feel that, this all has to be done right now perfectly. It's like when people say a layers of an onion, it goes both ways. The same way you're peeling it is the same way you're stacking it, little bits by little bits. But you want the core of your onion to have that flavor that's so potent that when somebody cuts through it, it makes you cry. You know how when you cut through an onion. So that's how you want your base and your foundation to be, and then slowly build up. And we're all learning. We're all learning. I love how you put that together, Kai. I'm complete.
Thanks. Yeah, you're totally right. There's a mood and there's a time for sure. And what we're talking about here is that What makes songs beautiful and meaningful is the structure that's applied to them. Whether it's Led Zeppelin or Mozart, just like you said, Juju, they have their own structure. And the person who made that music is aware of that structure. So when you take sounds and you apply structure to them, they can become music. So our brain knows what they mean and what makes them beautiful. So structure just creates clarity. The clarity around Led Zeppelin is that we know that it's rock music, so we know what to expect. The clarity around the structure of Mozart is that we know it's classical music, so we know what to expect. So this is true for your website, your marketing, and your communications that go out. When you take your message or your words and you apply a structure to them, they become meaningful to your customers. Okay. There may be someone who forgot to mute, and that is okay. I got you. Okay, sweet. All right, so here's our framework. The special way that we can talk about websites, and there's a million different ways to create websites, believe me. I'm sure that you know and that you've seen a whole bunch of them. We're just going to talk about one that I've seen that's particularly effective. And it's about telling a story. Stories are how we connect with the human heart. Stories are how we can connect with each other. And we can create that framework for the story piece by piece here. And that includes 7 things, and we'll break them down. 1 is a character, 2 is a problem, 3, that character meets a guide, and that's you, by the way. Number 4 is the guide gives them a plan. The 5th is that there's a call to action. 6 is that you help them avoid failure. And 7 is that it results in success. So the story is an example of a structure that can help your message make sense. And every brain speaks the language of the story. That's why we're gifted with time. Time has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and so does a story. So we're really relating to the humanity in the person who is reading that story. Awesome. So, just like you can write a story, you can start to write your website. And like I said, it's just these 7 steps, and we're going to break each one of them down. Feel free to ask questions at any time, and there are going to be action steps. So if you feel called to pull out a pen and piece of paper or open up a separate window and type down some things, we've got some action steps on each one of these pieces of the framework, and you can do it right here, right now, and we can help. So first, the character. Every story is about someone, and this is the main character. But a story isn't interesting if it just follows some random guy around for 2 hours. The character has to want something. So the story gets to clearly demonstrate what the character actually wants in the first few moments. So that way we can make sure that we're keeping the attention of the person who's watching. And the same is true for your website. So the first thing you want to do is you want to tell your customer that you have what they want. And you can do that by asking a few questions. But first, I want to ask a question to everyone that's here. And feel free to just unmute and let me know what you think. Currently, 1, do you have a website? And 2, does it tell a story? So Tia, Patti, Jasmine, if Aurelia is here, I'd love to hear if you have a website and does that website tell the story? Love to hear a little bit about it. Who'd like to share?
I'll go first.
Hey, love. Hey, y'all.
I don't have a website per se. It's there, but there's nothing there.
It's there, but there's nothing there. Got it.
Like I started to set it up, and I don't even know what happens if you type it in, but it's there. But it's probably like I guess like a generic or what are those called? Like when you have it, but it's just already populated. It's probably like that, and my laptop's not coming on, so I can't even see. But I did go to Wix and set it up, but that was it. Like, so that's all I've done.
So it's like a template.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to speak for Aurelia. I know that she's at work, but she does have a website, and it's a functioning website.
Awesome.
Jasmine?
Hello. I have had a few websites and I've had a few online stores. I deleted that online store and got a refund. But I have a few websites, but they don't really tell a story. There's like an about me section, and I've put on there like why someone might want to buy my stickers I've created recently, but I don't think it really tells the story and the structure you were describing.
And if I may share, as being one of the mentors here, honestly, throughout my journey and having my business, I've been in business since I was 10 years old. I have had a website since 2007. I have 3 websites along my journey of what I want my business to be. One website, Meride knows about, well, 2 of them she knows about. One of them is nice and pretty, all green, and it gives you a lot of information about me, but it doesn't take you anywhere. So if you click the and more button, and if you click the I want to buy button, you ain't buying smack. You know what I mean? You ain't going anywhere but the top, back to the top of that page. The second one is in Dreamland. It wants to become a website. It's there to be a website, but there's nothing being done to it. So it has all the capabilities, but it doesn't have pictures, it doesn't have content. It's just there floating somewhere in cyberspace. And my third website was something that I was like, you know what? I can't do this myself. So I'm going to pay, because I don't do monthly, I'll do the whole year. I won't do monthly. I'm going to pay for the whole year, and I'm going to do this myself. I don't need nobody's help. I'm tired of waiting. And you know what? It's just there with a domain. It's not, so it's like the 3 levels. And you know what? I hear everybody saying that it doesn't tell a story. It actually tells a story. It tells a story about you and where you are and where your mind is at. Seriously, it does. So if it's not doing anything, you see and I'm giving myself as an example transparently. If you see all of the 3 that I have, it's like one tells you the story, and that's like my vision board. That's like my dream. This is what I am. This is what I do. Get to know me. Colorful, beautiful pictures. But then it also tells you, I ain't bringing you nowhere on that website. And it could also say, for those that know me and have reached out to me, you got to know this girl. You got to know her, where to find her, because I've done business with her. I have her number. I have her, you understand? But it's holding space. The second one, nobody even knows that it exists. But me and the person that I paid and the person I'm in a partnership with, that we're the only ones that know. And it's there. It has potential, but that's the story that it tells. It's there and it has potential. The third one is like, okay, well, you try to do this yourself and you paid for a template that gives you the tools, but you're still not at the stage in your learning or in your confidence or in your content to get this up and running on your own. But it's there and it has somewhat of the things. You need help. Those are stories that it tells.
Anyone else want to share?
I'll share a little. So I in the chat box I put, no, I don't have one yet. You guys know where I'm at with that. Very, very, very beginner. But I do want to know, how to set one up well, right? So I found this title very appealing. And I do have access. I was given access by my sister-in-law to her business account that she uses for all her things. So that's very exciting. She just like gave it to me. She's like, here, just use it. And I'm like, but where do I begin? She has Canva. So I had told you that, Judy. So it's beautiful, but I don't want to just go doing things. Um, I like having like a macro vision. I want to have a strategy in place to be able to just, now that I'm doing it later, right? I'm a little like behind in the times. I want everything to align nicely. So that's why I'm taking my time with it. Also, I was wondering, and this may not be a conversation for now, but what do you think about Linktree, LINK.TR? Because I noticed like people use that like sort of as like a really like not a website, but like a basic way to sort of compile your stuff. And I was actually thinking of setting one up. But what do you think about that? And we don't have to answer that now if you want to leave it for later, because I know you have a lot of stuff to go through.
It's all good. I got a short answer for you now.
Talk to me.
And that is anywhere you start is great. So if that's where you feel that you want to start, then that's perfect. One of the main places that Linktree is used is like, for instance, if you have an Instagram profile and you want to like link to a lot of different places, then you put that Linktree as the link in your Instagram profile. That way a person can access all the things that you want to share with them and you're not limited to just one link. But it's great, like you're saying, as a landing page to just start to accrue the places where you want people to go. And you can just keep building from there. You can be like, oh, okay, I'm good with a link tree today. And tomorrow I want to build out something else on Canva or Wix. Or maybe I just want to stay here. It's totally up to you and what's calling to your heart and how you want to express yourself digitally in the moment.
Okay, that's helpful. So it's more of a place to redirect to other pages or other information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would need to get an IG.
They're not non-exclusive to one another. You can have one without the other. That's just how it's commonly used.
Okay, thank you.
And the beauty of all of this is just like, to be in harmony with what Kai said. It's who are you? What do you want? And start where you are. I'm the type of person to be transparent. I'm going to start where I am. Whether I have a house, a home, no money, some money, whether it looks pretty or not, I'm one of the people that I start where I am. Barefoot, no shoes, holes in my shirt. I'm doing videos, hair done, not done. This is who I am. That's the person, the personality that I am. There are some people out there that they're like, I'm not doing that. It has to be like this, like this, like this. Start where you are. I'm very big on the beginnings and the basics because I know that there are people out there that want to start their business and do their business and don't have it. Then there are those that are out there that want to start their business, do their business, and they have it. They just don't know where to go. And they're not the type that I'm just going to spend my money frivolously anywhere. So when I go to do this, I'm going to do this right. Thus, you need research. And then there are those that have already been in it, have already, spent their money here and here and here. And they're like, you know what? This doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. This is what I want. I want a bigger platform. I want to hit a bigger audience. I want it to be a little bit more sparkly. And some can do it on their own because they've done the research. They've taken the time, whether it's going through school and getting the degree and the education, or whether learning all on her own and, doing all of that stuff and saying, you know what, I got this. And I did this by myself. And thus I'm able to create websites for others and their businesses. So it's who are you What do you want? Is como te babiti. How are you going to get dressed? What do you want it to look like? And then what are your colors? What's the fabric? What's the content? And when you're comfortable in that space, then you can take the step to do your website. And I have to put in this asterisk before I let it go to Kai again, is you don't need a website to start your business. Okay? That's why I shared with you all three of mine. When I make my money, they have not been per se directly through my website. People who went to the first one, I was like, oh, that's nice. Nobody has ever found the second one. And the third one, it's like, well, where do I find the button doesn't work? So no, you don't need one, but it's great to have one because that's like your central headquarters. When somebody wants to know how valid you are, how solid is your business, the first thing that they tell you besides having a business card is, do you have a website? Because they want to go and see what you're about. And that presentation is going to speak for you. And with that, I'm complete.
So, one of the biggest things is, we're afraid to put ourselves out there. In business, all you really need for business is an email and a business card. Okay. Most often, word of mouth is what gets you most of your business. And then if you have a beautifully functioning website that is clear and concise and provides clarity around your story and the needs of the person that is viewing, it's so important. For me, the website journey has been, I have tried many platforms. I have, Wix, Weebly. I'm a WordPress girl. But as I learn more things, I'm learning that it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I offer a lot of different services. So I have multiple websites. I have like a main website and then they go to other places. But then you get there and there's a lot of information on each of the websites. And so for me, I'm really wanting to clear a lot of this a lot of this information up, make it a little, get that story real clear and concise. A lot of my business, so like for me, it's word of mouth and my website, and it's organic though. So, part of me is like, I don't like change. I want to leave all the stuff, but then the other part is if you get lost, it's like 15 seconds that they're on your website before you lose them or something like that.
Well, so now since COVID, it's more like 7 to 8.
So no, seriously. And if you think about that, that's like 3 clicks. You lost them in 3 clicks. If they're like, oh, this is ambient. I'm lost. So, for me, and again, when you learn more about what's out there and available, again, it comes back to, your budget. Do you not do something versus, okay, I'm gonna start low budget here and work your way up? Or, like that business card and that email or that Twitter or that Facebook. On our Facebook group, the Birthwork Wisdom, the advertising is there. It talks about Facebook insights and how to boost activity. And then there's like just suggestions. I'm really working a lot with food with my clients because as birth workers, most of what we deal with is food, right? And that relationship with food that corrects most of the problems with birthing people. If they're breastfeeding, if they're pregnant, a lot of times nutrition is a key component. So I'm really learning to talk from that place.
So it sounds like you're getting more specific in that area because Patricia, just in harmony, it's like I'm the one in the middle, literally between Kai and Meride. But she took the time to not only learn, and I'm sure Kai did the same thing. You have 2 different types of examples. Mm-hmm. I can speak more for Meride because I've seen the process, that she was able to say, I want a website and I'm building it. For me, I started out that way because I'm like, I like to learn. I like to do it myself. But with the work coming in and with the audience that I was getting, I didn't have the time to do that. So I had to take a shift. So it's almost like put your ego in check, you know, the one that wants to learn, the one that is the perfectionist, the one that's like, I could do this myself. And you have to decide, do you have the time with the way that your business is going to do this for yourself and put everything that you do out there? Or are you going to pay someone that does it better than you to get it done? And then what are you going to put out
or
there?
or that technology again, because when we get into that level of business, okay, you put me onto a bunch of different, okay, yeah, I knew MailChimp, I knew this, I knew these different levels of what you need to integrate to get your information to your people. And it's
It
a
sounds
few
like
things.
I was like, let's keep it simple. There are things that you can put in place that does it for you, to
Okay. And
alleviate the,
but there's still
right?
that, learning curve. There's a lot of different things that we can utilize. But again, if you're not at that level, because we can want a lot of things. So how do I get there to that point? So, as we learn, as we meet people, we're going to learn different technologies, how to up level in a different way, how to have that glossy look, how to look sparkly, because you know what? That building of websites is crazy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. And then you actually have to have some mastery for that, to make it run optimally. And then there's a bunch of costs. So after you factor all those costs in, is it more feasible to go this other route because apples, oranges? And so this other way really streamlines your capabilities and gives you the presentation that you want. So we're learning so much as we go along and how to make these shifts into new things, but also being able to be sustainable, because it always comes back to that. But if we're not putting ourselves out there just from the jump, so if we have a website and we're not putting ourselves out there, it doesn't really matter anyway. So, that email address and business card, that Twitter, that Facebook, that Instagram, Linktree, what is it? Campsite? Is that the other one? Campsite? So yeah, it's like a Linktree, but instead they call it Campsite or
I
something
don't know.
like
There's so many
that.
that
No,
we're gonna
but
be overwhelmed.
no, seriously, my head spins with all the potentiality. And what I say is whatever is easiest for you to do. So that's why I just started with Facebook. Why? Where are we? We on Facebook, right? So I know you got a Facebook.
And
I
if not, you
know
have
you
an
have
email.
a Facebook. So guess what? We can literally right now, like if you just wanted to start with that, here's my Facebook page, buy a domain, you can point it to your Facebook page, boom, website. Que lindo. And start there. So again, there's a lot of different ways, but if you have extra flow, there are ways that boom, 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 and you get into a habit right away, automated, but it's going to cost you.
Absolutely. And let's just the what we're doing is the website. So in the last slide, what the last sentence that Kai had left is that, the structure is clarity. And that's what your website is. That particular structure. It gives you clarity. If you can't build it, that structure, to give clarity to your audience, don't do it. Don't do it. And if you don't have the time to build that structure because it takes time, don't do it. And this is not, don't do it because you can't. Don't do it because it's not reasonable. It's not the reality that you're in order to get your business going, because then you'll spend all your time doing that and not doing your business. And with that, let's move forward. We have a few more minutes.
11:48.
Awesome. Thank you both. This is like so important to really just be with the real time and the real life instances, and also to get into the conception and the concept of what it is that we're creating. So I appreciate you both. And we've got our little pregnant lady there. She's so cute. I'm going to whiz through these slides, and then that way we'll have some more time for discussion. And also these slides will be available to you. So you'll have all the action steps, all the questions. So don't worry. The character is that, you just want to Ask yourself some questions in relationship to what you sell. What does your customer want? Like for instance, let's say that a client just wants a peaceful birth. You know, if your customer gets what they want, how will their life be better? Well, a peaceful birth can lead to a really harmonious, you know, upbringing for their child. If your customer is ready to buy now, how do they do that? And this is so funny because I often see people who are trying to be like really cute about this at the expense of their clarity. Like they don't make their buy now button or whatever the button is like really clear. They just want to like, you know, make it blend in, you know, with the rest of the, you know, ambiance on the website. And sometimes that can cost you a sale, or cost you a client or whatever it is. You can cost someone the impact that you're going to make on their life. So the action steps here are to write down what your customer wants in relationship to what you offer. Then write down how having that will make their life feel better. And then you can make sure that your buy now button is super clear, or however it is that you relate to your offer. Like I said, I'm gonna whiz through and then we can talk about, we can definitely open up discussion. Now the character has a problem, right? Like for instance, maybe they don't have a doula currently, or maybe they have one that they don't like and they want to switch. So your customers are on your website because they have a problem, and if you're not talking about the problem that you solve, then your customers may not understand why they're there. So the story can really illustrate the problem. So you can talk about it. You know, when your customers see you talking about the problem that they have, they listen carefully and they lean in and they get really interested. You know, maybe someone doesn't know how to breastfeed. Maybe someone has a friend who doesn't know how to breastfeed. You know, all of these things are just things that we can talk about in our own tone, our own voice. It doesn't have to be a doom and gloom website. Like, if you don't hire me, then your life is not going to be great. Not like that, but just to know that you understand where they're coming from. So when you talk about the problem your customers are experiencing, they like connect with you and they connect your problem with what it is that they're going through. They connect your product with the problem that they're going through. So you can take notes on like what your problem is, what the problem is that you solve for customers, and what it looks like when they're experiencing that, and literally what would drive them to look for a product like yours, and how does that problem make them feel. And we're going to get into later. Yes, we're also going to talk about how the solution makes them feel. Right now, we're just focused on where they are, just like we've been saying. You know, you want to relate to them where they are, and then take them where they want to be. So the action step here is just to make sure that you include both external problems and also internal problems, which are called emotions, because that's again part of the story. You're really illustrating it vividly what they're going through. So the third step here in this particular path for writing out a website is having the character meet a guide, and that guide is you. So when you position yourself as the guide, you're taking that person, you know, by their hand to where it is that they want to go. And these are the questions that you can ask yourself in relationship to this step. In what way are you similar to your customers? Like, how do you relate to them? And why can they trust you to help them solve their problem? Just note that here is not where we get into the part that's about us. We still want to make it about them. So this is not the place where we say, oh, I have this certificate and this and this and this and this. No, we want to actually talk about the customer and talk about the customer so that they can relate to you. And there's a few ways to do that. Like for instance, some people they put like logos on their website of different companies that they've worked with, if they're a B2B, a business to business company. You know, or maybe they'll have like testimonials, you know, so that you can hear other clients or past clients talk about how you help them solve their problem. Or even you can write down like some numbers about the ways that you've impacted the world. You know, like in business since 2012, over 21,000 people helped and coached, you know, or whatever it is. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but remember, you want to make it about the impact and about the customer. So you can write down a few reasons that people can trust you. You can use experience, logos like we were saying, or compelling stats that demonstrate your impact. The fourth step is that you give them a plan. And you can do this in however it is that you actually help people. But just remember, like, you may have a 27-step process that you take people through, like with being a doula, there is not necessarily 3 steps, but you just want to like break it down into something that looks like it's easy to digest, like a 3 to 5 bite-sized steps. So that way they can understand it and they can actually be like, yeah, I can do that. So here you can start asking yourself, you know, how is it that people actually engage with you and use your product or service? And if you can, break it down into these 3 or 5 easy steps. And then, kind of like put it down and then come back to it and see if you can make it even simpler than that. And part of me, I'm blazing through just to make sure that we at least touch on each slide. And then again, we'll be able to have more discussion in just a moment. When you're talking about the plan that you're giving them, also, you can address some objections. Like, if someone wants to hire a doula, you can write, well, maybe you feel like you don't have enough money, or maybe you feel like right now is not the time, to hire a doula. And you can respond to those objections. Like, hey, you can have a doula registry. Hey, you can have, this to help you out. So these are questions or objections that may have come up with clients in the past, and you can just kind of get them out of the way by making sure that people clearly know the benefits of working with you or the positive characteristics of your company. Then you just want to make sure that you call them to action. Again, it's really as simple as making that button really clear and just there for people who may not see it. Maybe it's like hiding as a hyperlink or something like that. But you just want to make it really clear where people go when they want to buy. And this is the second to last step, is that you want to help people avoid failure. So what people want, well, we want people to think about their life and how it will be better, with your product or your service. But if there aren't stakes, if there isn't like possible failure, then there may be no reason to buy from you. So like, for instance, if I'm selling a water bottle and a person doesn't understand like why they should buy that water bottle, and if there's not actually a reason to buy that water bottle, then they might just not buy it. So again, this is not saying like scare your audience into buying it. It's just that if there is something that your product or your service helps them avoid, like avoid not having all of your questions about your pregnancy answered. Like, I'm here for you 24/7 to answer any question that you have. That is a positive aspect of your company that helps them avoid failure, that helps them avoid failing to get their questions answered. So you can really think about, if a person doesn't, use your service or product, what problems might they be still living with? And also, there are in some cases, we have products or services that things get worse, if people don't purchase. Like, if I am overweight, and I just let that continue to be, then maybe my health might get worse. So it might be imperative, to work with a nutritionist or something like that in order to address that issue. So if that exists for you, that you can help avoid them failure in some way, then this is a place that you can start to address that. And the last slide is to end with success. Like, what will their life look like when they actually succeed? Like, this is the part to get amped and to get excited. Like, you can get really specific. Like, imagine all the ways that your customers' lives will be better. And then you can write down your favorites. And this is a great place. If you have more testimonials, put them in here. You can, sprinkle the testimonials throughout your website. There's no such thing as having too much success on your website, but it's definitely something that you want to finish with. And as with all of the other steps, being clear is important. and just making sure that you're really getting people in that feeling of the part of the story that they're in. Thanks for, thanks for dealing with me going super duper fast. Like I said, the slides will be available, so that you can take another look at it, and I'll even include a template of what it will look like, one that's all put together, just an example. And again, this is just one of like a million bajillion infinite ways that you can design your website, and stories just happen to be pretty effective. So if you want to give this model a try, it's there for you. I am complete.
How do I raise my hand?
Go ahead, Jasmine.
Hello. So I have a few questions. The first one is, y'all, so when we are telling our story, part of the thing that has inspired me so much to be a doula in the first place is, constantly hearing that statistic that I feel personally is a curse now to keep saying it, that statistic about comparing Black women's birth rates to white women's birth rates. And as I've tried to build my website so far, I've wanted to avoid saying that because that's just what I deeply believe. I don't think we need this comparison all the time. It's just very negative. So what are some other ways to show, because all this has really come through deep work and lots of pain and very uncomfortableness. Like, how should I shift that to tell a story that's not that kind of highlights the negative part and like that problem that I'm trying to fix? I want people to go home with their babies, or whatever their birth outcome is. I can help you with that, but I don't want to start out and have my website talk about those negative statistics that are just oversaid now.
I'm going to make a comment because your question is really compelling and really important. So thank you so much for asking it. And that is that you can very well use a different statistic. Like, for instance, do we know the rate of successful home births, especially within the past year? Do we know the rate of healthy babies, that are born at home? We can start using the flip side of it. It doesn't have to necessarily be negative.
A positive birth story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to let you guys continue talking about this. I love you so much. I'm going to
see you later.
And in harmony with what was shared,